Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, August 17th, 9 a.m. Eastern. It's a morning of steady rain, soggy turkeys, and snoring dogs. So we've got a pretty sizable pullback in QQQ from the V-shaped bounce. We knew we didn't change any hourly trends. We saw a significant move higher on that bounce. But one of the themes from yesterday was, okay, bulls, great bounce. Now you got to prove it with an hourly trend change if we're going to believe that you can follow through from that bounce. So there's a lot of names that are opening lower, which means we're watching hourly higher lows. So on QQQ and a lot of individual big tech names, there's still a lot of space for that hourly higher low to form. And we're watching the retracement size to determine what is the most likely scenario. So just as an example, if we're pulling up QQQ here and I'm looking at the hourly chart, pull up my retracement tool, and I can see from the low of the drop yesterday to the high of the bounce, we've retraced just about 50%. So this, to me, means an equilibrium is the more likely scenario, which also means a daily inside bar is certainly on the table. So we're watching for hourly higher lows to form this morning. We need to see the bulls change 5-minute trends back in their favor. And then once hourly higher lows have formed, we're going to be watching for the potential of hourly lower highs. So bulls are going to be watching for the higher lows on the morning, and then bears are going to be watching for the lower highs into the later morning or the afternoon. Obviously, we have to set the hourly higher lows first. So aware of the potential for some inside bars out there, and then there's individual names that we can look at, and we can see Apple, the retracement is much less significant. So this is how we determine who's stronger and who's weaker. For Apple, we haven't even retraced to the 382, and if we're going to compare it to Netflix, let's say, Netflix, that bounce was not nearly as significant as the stronger names. So Netflix is still easily within yesterday's range with the lower high being set. And now looking at the low of yesterday, which is much closer in play than it is on Apple. Facebook is one of the stronger names with less retracement. So some names stronger, some names weaker. As far as our growth names are concerned, we know they had a much weaker bounce overall comparative to big tech. So those names are looking at bear flags confirming. Tesla is confirming an hourly bear flag with a gap down open. NIO has an hourly bear flag confirming with a gap down open. So growth names were not positioned well for QQQ hourly consolidation, which didn't happen until extended hours, but they are seeing the gap downs as a result of that. So I'm going to be watching for hourly higher lows on QQQ and big tech. I'm going to be watching growth for oversold bounces. So that's going to be my top focus this morning. I am watching NIO for a bounce, and that's just because the 4-hour RSI is at historical bounce levels. If I go back and look at the past couple years, I can see that the 4-hour RSI definitely does get beat up, but it's bounced off of 19, 18, and then back here. My mouse can't get on there, but right in the teens. And so here we are on a second gap down open with the RSI at 19. So for me, that means scout a bounce play. So I'm watching NIO, and what I want to see. So I know the hourly is beat up. I know the 4-hour is beat up, but the 5 and the 15-minute aren't. So there's two scenarios. We see an open, and the bulls break up above 37.68 and get the hourly bounce going without short-term RSI levels getting crushed. But what I want to see and what my ideal bounce trade is I want to flush first thing. I want to see a dump under 37 psychological. Give me a 5 and 15-minute RSI level that's oversold in addition to the longer-term oversold RSI levels. And that's when I get a little bit more aggressive with my bounce style. So keeping an eye out for that. If I wanted to be real aggressive on NIO, I would make an initial entry playing off of 37.23. But growth names have had a bearish correlation to QQQ for the last 5 days, and I'm not just going to assume that that's going to change. So I'm not going to go aggressive on these bounce plays because that correlation has been bearish. The other bounce plays I'm watching are CGC and TLRY in the Canadian MJ space, and just because we're approaching a couple downtrend support lines, and the drop has been very notable over the last 4 days, significant in size, and we're looking at 4-hour RSI oversold here as well. So what I'm watching for on CGC and TLRY, we're going to test low of yesterday first thing. And I'm watching for a break of the low of yesterday with no follow through into a bounce. And that to me would indicate, okay, watch for a shift in momentum for the potential of a bounce to get underway. If we break the lows of yesterday and then follow through for the first 20 minutes of trading today and the bears keep full control, then we're just going to say, okay, it's another morning that's the same as the last few mornings and the bears still have complete control. So I have to see something different. I have to see a bear break with zero follow through straight into a sizable bounce that creates enough space for a 5-minute trend change to set up on the morning. And then of course the burden of proof remains on the bulls. So I'm just keeping an eye on those 3 plays for bounces this morning, keeping it simple. As far as what I'm watching for the broader market, I'm watching for an hourly higher low on XLF as well. If XLF can hold 37.99, it's an hourly higher low. And then the bulls would have to break 38.52 to confirm the hourly trend change back to the bulls and set this daily higher low. So I don't plan on trading XLF today, but I'm just watching for the broader market perspective. Is the financial sector setting a healthy daily higher low? And that low of yesterday at 37.99 is a key short-term level. So looking at the S&P 500, we are rejecting from the 12-hour uptrending resistance line that I've been keeping an eye on. So making note of that, it is still in play. The 4-hour time frame, we have a potential 4-hour equilibrium shaping up. So if we set the higher low in QQQ on the hourly, then we'll be looking for the S&P 500 to likely be setting a 4-hour higher low compared to the low of yesterday. And again, this is the kind of setup where generally I would be looking for an equilibrium to form. And the only reason that I would be looking for a lower low would be if XLF breaks its low of yesterday, if XLV shows us weakness after being a lead bull, blue sky bull yesterday, and if QQQ struggles to set an hourly higher low. But otherwise, in my opinion, the 4-hour equilibrium and tightening range is the more likely scenario. NASDAQ, same thing on the 4-hour, big time bounce, double top rejection, big time pullback, so scouting and equilibrium as the more likely scenario. Dollar, that changed quick. That's a big bounce. I'm watching this uptrending support line on the daily for the dollar. Just drew it today, this morning. Sizable move, so daily higher low very clearly set now with the inside bar bull break at 92.47. And we're looking at key resistance, the double top of 93.19. If we reject from 93.19, it's a lower high and we'll have a little mini equilibrium to be watching. But daily higher low is now set. With that, gold bulls are pleased with how they're holding up. The dollar has been bouncing for 2 days and gold has not been pulling back for 2 days. So gold has been holding up well relative to the dollar. I would be starting to scout a little bit more aggressively gold to top out here soon. And we got an uptrending resistance line to be watching here. I could draw that a little bit better, but in the what's the word I'm looking for? In the interest of time, I don't really like a support line there. So I'm just watching the 4-hour uptrend, and anything above 1784 keeps the bulls in control. But again, at this point, the 4-hour RSI got into overbought territory. We've been bouncing for 6 days in a row, and the dollar is showing us some strength. So just keeping an eye out for gold to find a temporary top. Silver, I'm watching previous support, now resistance, which lines up right at, I don't even need to watch that because the EMA 12 is right there on the daily. And we're watching the 4-hour higher lows on silver as well. The miners aren't positioned well. So just like yesterday, growth names were not positioned well for QQQ consolidation. The miners are not positioned well for gold consolidation. Why can I say that? Because gold has a triple, or I should say miners have a triple top in the 3290s. And here we are pre-market, not close to breaking 3290s. Yet here we are with gold, a higher high every single day, while the miners continue to fail to set higher highs. So the bounce in the miners is much less significant than the bounce in gold. And if gold sees daily consolidation begin, these miners are going to be looking right back down towards that low of 3190. So a very clear top fishing resistance level on GDX. And at this point, I would just use psychological 33 as my stop out level. But that's that. Oil. So oil giving back a good bit of the bounce as well. Oil very correlated to QQQ. The drop yesterday, the V-shaped bounce, significant pullback, trying for a 4-hour higher low. And the bulls would have to see a break above 67.84 to confirm a 4-hour trend change back in the favor of the bulls and to set a convincing daily higher low. And again, a daily inside bar shaping up, and I would not be surprised to see a good number of daily inside bars form today. Natural gas, 4-hour trend change attempt, but not setting one yet. So we had a decent bounce, but we know we have to change that 4-hour trend on commodities if we're going to see daily higher lows set. So the bulls have to hold 382 and break 399 to set that daily higher low. And right now it's an inside bar and a 4-hour tightening range as the bulls are giving back a good bit of that 4-hour bounce. Bitcoin, so we had a bear break of a Bitcoin support level with no follow through, which is keeping the bulls hopeful to try and maintain the daily EMA 12 support. Generally, you don't see a daily bull flag confirm with a lack of follow through straight into another bull flag. It's certainly possible, but it's not the most likely scenario. So I'm watching for a 4-hour lower high, anything under 48.1 thousand. And the bears have to prove to us a 4-hour downtrend if we're going to see daily consolidation shaping up in any significant way. So the burden of proof remains on the bears. They took out support, and now they have to confirm a downtrend. But it's a pretty sizable bounce from that support break. So bulls are hoping that they can hang on. But I'm definitely cautious up at these levels. I've taken some decent amounts of profit. I'm out half of my Bitcoin monthly swing trade at this point, and I'm out a third of my Ethereum. So just locking in some of the gains. And if we do see a bullish save here, then I will have some position to benefit. But now that I've taken some profit, I don't really have any actions to take in cryptocurrency in the short term. All right, let's get into tickers. Starting it off with Baba. So more bearish headlines out of China. I think the SEC sent warnings to U.S. investors as far as being in Chinese names. So we are now on a 4th gap down open. But very interesting that the daily RSI is only now getting oversold. Generally, if you say 4 gap downs, and here we had 1, 2, 3 gap downs into a bounce. So we're on a 4th gap down. And 179.67 support is breaking. So that has us zoom out and look at the next level, 169.95. And I'm watching to see if the Chinese names here correlate to growth names. We know growth has been real beat up the last 5 days or so. And watching to see if a bounce in growth, or if any kind of growth standing out comparative to QQQ as stronger for the first time in a while, if that would mean that the Chinese names are getting bounce follow through as well. But what we would need to see is a big enough bounce for an hourly trend change to try and set up. And to see a big enough bounce for an hourly trend change, we have to see these bulls change the hourly, or change the 5-minute trend in their favor, and ideally get over 178, the high of pre-market. If we can clear 178, we're starting to create some space. But we certainly know the next time we bounce, we're just looking for an hourly lower high. So there's a lot of headline downside. Keep that in mind with RSI levels. So this is a news-related drop, which means the RSI levels can get more extended. BIDU, so same deal here. Not a 4 gap down pattern, but we are gapping down. Anything under 147.20 is just an hourly lower high. The hourly RSI is crushed. The 4-hour RSI is crushed in the teens. The daily RSI is more beat up than Baba. That's going to be down in the lower 20s. And the next support level, we're in an area without a ton of clear support. 142.54 stands out. And we are under that level right now. So really just 140 psychological from there. And again, we have to see the bulls with a big enough hourly bounce to try and set up an hourly trend change. So aggressive bulls are scouting names like NIO and Baba and Baidu for a gap down bounce this morning. But watch that QQQ correlation, because if we're going to have any confidence in a temporary bottom in these names, we have to see a bullish correlation with QQQ. GRWG, another name, growth name, big gap down. Earnings are a big factor here. So gap down, well, not a big gap down, a couple percent, 1%. So at this point, I'd be watching this for a potential falling wedge type scenario where the bear breaks are getting a little bit less and less follow through. So just like I'm watching on CGC and TLRY, if you're watching GRWG, you're watching, does the bear break of yesterday get no follow through? Does the bell ring and we start a bounce and get right back above 30.15? And if that happens, then we're watching for the potential shift in short-term momentum to lead to a daily bounce. So we are definitely crushed on a lot of time frames as far as RSI. But again, it is news. It's the earnings that is the reason for that RSI. And after 30.25, we're looking down at 29.44. And again, what I want to see in MJ is different than what I want to see in NIO. In NIO, because I'm not looking, well, in NIO, I want to see a flush under 27. I want to see the short-term RSI levels crushed. In MJ, I want to see any break of the low of yesterday resulting in no follow-through straight into a bounce back up into yesterday's range. So those are two different scenarios as far as what I want to see in the ideal setup. And that's the same for GRWG. They want the bell to ring, and rather than flushing down, they want to see very little bear follow-through under that low of yesterday, which would convince some bears to start covering, showing a bears losing momentum, essentially. Wish. So Wish has a daily inside bar, and it's going to test these lows first thing. We're looking down at 672 and 669, and then the low of extended hours, I think that was 653. So couple key support levels in play, but again, another name where RSI levels are not helpful to us in black dirt breakdown. So the bulls need to convincingly shift momentum. So same thing, if we break 672, bulls want to see a bounce right back up into the range of yesterday afternoon. Break 672 for a few minutes and then shoot right back up towards $7. Anything under $7 is an hourly lower high. But again, if the bears control the morning, then they stay comfortable and just put yourself in the mindset of a bear. You know, if I'm in a swing position bearish and we flush first thing, I can sit through a flush bounce and still be in green on the day. But if the flush or if the bear break only lasts a couple minutes and then next thing you know, we're bouncing a decent bit and I'm starting to give back some gains, you know, my position is red from where we closed yesterday, that's when bears start to consider covering some of their position. TTCF. 1639, low of yesterday going to be tested first thing. Again, another name where RSI means less because it's an earnings reaction. We're looking down at 1661. That broke, so 1605 is the next level. Goal for the bulls is to either hold 1639 or break it with zero follow-through. And I would consider anything under the high of yesterday as just an hourly lower high. So again, that's why these names need to show us a bullish correlation to QQQ because we need a big enough hourly bounce to create space for a trend change to try and set up. And we have 1676 as an extended hours resistance level to watch, and with nothing else clearly nearby from regular trading hours, I'd be keeping an eye on that 1676 short-term level, knowing that if we do not break that level, bears remain extremely comfortable. A lot of these names that have been weak the last few days have clear hourly EMA 12 resistances. Baba's another one. Every bounce rejecting from hourly EMA 12. Keep an eye on that level. CLX. So CLX, a little bit of an upper wick on yesterday's candle. Can't really tell where we're going to open here because there's not much volume pre-market. But we're just watching the low of yesterday. And if the low of yesterday holds, we're watching the pattern of a higher low every day for 6 days. So if the bulls can hold 168.50, they're going to fend off daily consolidation at this point. If we break 168.50, daily consolidation is underway, and we then scout a higher low. On any bull move on the morning, we've got resistance of 171.37 and 171.80. And it is a potential little volume climax. It doesn't stand out in a big way, but it does stand out as the highest volume day on this entire bounce. Aside from the initial bounce, I should say, on the continuation move. Highest in the last 6 days. So just keeping an eye out for things to get a little toppy. The bears have to prove it. We know a weekly lower high is the most likely result of this bounce. So potentially daily consolidation shaping up, but we do have to break that low of yesterday for bears to prove that daily consolidation is underway. Fubo, so growth name that needs a bullish correlation, 2 gap downs in a row. Make that 3. So 3 gap downs. And again, this is why I'm watching growth names for short-term bounces, but staying skeptical as long as they continue to have a bearish correlation with QQQ. So with this gap down, the hourly RSI is not crushed. It is oversold. The 4 hour is not oversold. The daily is not oversold. So this is not a very beat up name. We have a weekly tightening range where we failed 35.09 on the earnings reaction. And now we're looking for a higher low, anything above 24.81. So on a third gap down open, scouting a higher low compared to 24.81, we still have a lot of space above that level. And on any bounce, I would consider anything under 28.28 just a lower high. And again, watch that hourly EMA 12 resistance. It's been a guide for the past few days. Bulls have to prove it with a big enough morning bounce to shape up a 5-minute trend change if we're going to see an hourly bounce underway. And then we're just going to look for an hourly lower high. So we have to see it in one time frame at a time, starting with a 5-minute bull move on the morning, and then a higher low and higher high if we're going to have any confidence in bounce follow through. CMG. So CMG daily higher low is set at 1852.85. If we break that level, weekly consolidation will be more convincingly underway. At this point, the bulls are hoping it's a weekly bull flag, but still a daily uptrend. Hourly, you could view it as an equilibrium from the last 2 days. High, low, lower high. Anything above 1862 is a higher low. So a 2-day tightening hourly range to be watching. And essentially, we would have to fail the all-time high and break 1852 to confirm a daily downtrend, to lose daily EMA 12, and for weekly consolidation to be a little bit more significant. So if bulls break that hourly equilibrium bullish, they're going to keep control. But if it breaks bearish, a potential lower high and lower low is on the table. Tesla gap down open. So again, we're not really crushed. The hourly RSI is oversold. Yes, it was more oversold yesterday. 4-hour RSI is getting oversold. And we are looking for a weekly higher low, anything above 621. So second gap down open. On any bounce, anything under 688.48 is just an hourly lower high. The ideal scenario for growth bulls this morning is for QQQ to set an hourly higher low this morning with its range from yesterday, and for growth names to stand out with a bullish correlation comparative to QQQ, because that means QQQ is going to bounce on the hourly and growth names will bounce more significantly. And again, we have not seen that bullish correlation in at least a week. So that is a very important aspect of any bounce. And the next support level that we're going to be looking at on Tesla, again, not a lot established in this range because of the big breakout on the way up. But 669 is the next level. And after 669, not a lot nearby. We're then looking at 662.97 from extended hours. And it doesn't mean as much to me because it's from extended hours, but there's nothing else in that range. AMC. So the next day is going to be key because we're either going to get a daily trend change confirmed or a rejection from 37.16 resistance into a tightening daily equilibrium. So the hourly higher low is going to be key here. Anything above the low of yesterday is an hourly higher low. And again, watch the retracement size, because if we see a 50% plus retracement, then we watch for an hourly equilibrium to potentially form. And if the bulls see an hourly higher low set first thing and break 36.18, then a daily trend change is on the table. So hourly uptrend is key, because if we lose the hourly uptrend without breaking 37.16, the odds of a tightening daily range will increase a bit. mRNA. So mRNA still looking for a daily bounce at this point. Lower high every day for the last 4 days. Lower open here. All about 349. There's a potential playoff of 349 this morning for a bottom fish. But if the bulls are going to prove anything notable to us, we would have to hold 349 and break 378 to confirm the hourly trend change. And if 349 breaks, then the bears resume absolute complete control. And we'll then be watching for 4-hour oversold conditions. And after 349, the next support level, there is a base of support in the low 340s here. But bulls just want to form an hourly higher low compared to 349 this morning. MNST. Trying to get some bounce follow through. We are just looking at anything under 100. We're just going to call that 100 as a daily lower high. Yes, this could be a bull flag, but we will need increasing bull volume on the daily if that bull flag is going to confirm. Hourly uptrend is key for the bulls to maintain. We'll call anything above the low of yesterday an hourly high or low. And the two scenarios here are bull flag confirmed to a new high, or a failure to break the high and a drop back down towards daily support. 97.22 is now the most important daily level in the short term for us. So how long can the bulls maintain the hourly uptrend? Can they climb back to that 100 psychological level? Coin, growth name, pulling back. Scouting a daily high or low, anything above 226.91, the pullback in coin and in crypto names is much more significant than the pullback in crypto itself. So that's notable. Hourly, anything under 260.41 is just an hourly lower high. The best case scenario for the bulls is to open, hold the low of yesterday, and break 260.41 to show a confirmed hourly trend change and a momentum shift shaping up. Burden of proof is on the bulls to prove that to us. And then from there, once an hourly trend change occurs and a daily bounce is underway, we will be scouting a daily lower high because of the size of this pullback. SPCE. So weak bounce yesterday, a potential daily bear flag, and we're going to test that low first thing. So we're looking down at 25.22 and 25.05. If 25.05 breaks, I'm looking at 24.70 and 23.52 as the next support levels. Bears are keeping their complete control as the bulls are unable to prove an hourly trend change. And we will call anything under 25.90 as just an hourly lower high. FUTU. So potential hourly bear flag. We're seeing a gap down open. Bulls really struggling for any bounce follow through, and we rolled over into fresh lower lows. That's a weekly bear flag confirming. Lack of support in this area, so RSI levels can certainly get extended. 93.10. We're well below that. We're looking at 77.50. 84.50 is a little gap that's going to fill. And then, well, we're right there. 84.50 is a gap. So if the bulls are going to get any kind of bounce going, we got to break the high of pre-market of 85.79. But again, we're just looking for an hourly lower high on any bounce, and the bears have complete control in the short term with a weekly, daily, and hourly downtrend. And a monthly downtrend as well, it looks like. Every single time frame is in downtrend right now. TTD. So TTD took out daily support of 82.31. On the hourly, let's see, we're going to test that level after the low of yesterday, 77.32. We're looking down at 77. Nope, we're in gap fill at that point. So 75.30 would fill the gap. And we just have a clear hourly downtrend to be watching with anything under 79.84 as a lower high. The bulls would need to hold the low of yesterday and break 79.84 to be looking at a daily bounce shaping up. And then we would zoom out and scout a daily lower high to be the most likely result of that bounce. And it is a potential head and shoulders at that point. You know, if we do bounce from this area, we would then have to be cautious of that. But for right now, the bulls are looking for a short-term bounce to try and set up, but we have to hold that low of yesterday. And if it breaks, the bears keep their complete control. The VIX. The VIX has closed lower than it has opened 10 days in a row. Look at all these red candles, and that's what that means. So that's very notable. Can't remember the last time that has happened. 10 days in a row. But it'll stand out for the first time when we close higher than we open. But on this move, it's a daily bounce underway with anything under 24.44 is just a daily lower high. So what the bulls are hoping for is enough bounce to create the space for a daily trend change to try and eventually shape up. But it is still just a clear daily downtrend at this point. And with the higher opens closing lower, it just shows us bulls are continuing to buy dips in the market. Once we start seeing green days on the VIX, that means that the bears gain a little bit of ground in the market during market hours, which has not happened in a couple weeks. DOT USDT. Daily time frame, keeping an eye out for a volume climax. In the short term, we can see the last one we had led to a couple days of consolidation, and we're going to see the highest volume day in a while today. 4-hour consolidation is underway with a lot of space for a higher low to form. So I like the 4-hour for clarity. It's definitely looking for a 4-hour higher low. And we would need to see enough pullback here to then anticipate a 4-hour lower high if we were going to see daily consolidation shaping up. But for now, just viewing the low, high, and scouting that 4-hour higher low on this pullback. CCL, we're watching the XLF low of yesterday first thing. And CCL is going to try and hold its low first thing, 21.94, about to be tested. Anything under 22.93 would just be a lower high. And the next support level is down at 21.14 from there. QQQ getting a big drop. 5-minute RSI is down in the 20s for QQQ. Making one initial entry on NIO here, and I will make one more in the 36.80s if we see another leg down. And again, on the bounce, when QQQ sees this 5-minute bounce, we have to see growth names correlate bullishly and see a stronger bounce. And so on QQQ, we're watching 363.70. We're still well above that level. So again, bulls are watching for a bounce play off of the low of yesterday's support, or playing off of the low of yesterday. Deja vu from yesterday morning, but this RSI is dropping a lot faster. It's at the same levels down in the teens, but it's on the first 5-minute candle. So QQQ bounce play on watch. Canadian MJ is already attempting some bounce here before QQQ even starts. CGC is 1% off the low almost. So I'm waiting just a little bit here. On NIO, I may have missed my second entry. Got down to the 36.80s there real quick. So if that happens, I'll stick with my one entry and that'll be fine. So again, watching to see, does growth set up with a bullish correlation comparative to QQQ when QQQ sees its 5-minute oversold bounce from here? XLF is holding the low of yesterday, so currently a daily inside bar. XLV is flat, so really it's just QQQ getting all the attention this morning. And we need to see NIO see a new high of the day as a result of a QQQ 5-minute oversold bounce if we're going to have confidence that a temporary bottom is likely hit. So 37.63 needs to break for NIO. GME. So GME is holding the low of yesterday at this point. Currently a daily inside bar, 170. We'll just round a little bit. 170 would be resistance. And there's another resistance level at 165.74. So at this point, bulls just trying to hold that low of yesterday and change the 5-minute trend to the bulls to have confidence that low of yesterday can hold. So already I'm looking at QQQ and I'm seeing a decent lower wick on this 5-minute bounce. And NIO has to turn things on real quickly here. Otherwise, it's going to have a bearish correlation. NIO is seeing resistance in the 3730s. Have to clear that zone. BA. So BA bear break under the low of yesterday, even though XLF is not breaking bearish. So I can say BA has a bearish correlation to XLF. Next support level is 221.30. And the bears have complete control of the hourly trend there. Here's NIO testing the high of the day. And if NIO breaks its high of the day and QQQ does not, that's our bullish correlation shaping up. Really want that 37.63 level to break with some follow through. And then if I look at the other growth names and they see it as well, so I'm watching, can CGC break its high of the day before QQQ does? I'll do more BA here in just a second. Rejecting from the high of the day with a double top initially. QQQ testing the high of the day, so they're neck and neck. So new high of the day on QQQ, nice bounce there from very crushed 5-minute RSI. NIO with the high of the day, so I don't have any information as to correlations right now between the two. They're too similar to distinguish at this moment. CGC testing the high of the day. QQQ is a little bit off its high of the day. Let's see if NIO can keep pushing higher. Then it would start to stand out. Clearing 38 would be a great sign. So a little bit of a bullish correlation starting to develop. So BA is all bears. We need a 5-minute trend change back to bulls, and then we're just looking for an hourly lower high to be the result of a bounce. Yes, we are beat up. The hourly RSI is down in the teens. XLF is testing its low of yesterday. Well, not testing, it's approaching. XLF bulls must hold that low of yesterday and break the high of today if we're going to be looking for an hourly higher low to try and shape up. So QQQ 30 cents off the high of the day while NIO keeps pushing higher is a good sign. CGC, I'm looking down and just saying, okay, they're both growth names. CGC is pushing higher at the high of the day. So some initial signs of at least the two growth names I'm watching showing some bullish correlation. mRNA, great bounce off the lows. Wow, look at that volume. So that's an hourly higher low and confirmed hourly trend change. So daily bounce underway for mRNA. 5-minute volume higher on the second candle definitely stands out to us. If NIO fails 38 here, I'm going to exit half position to just be in complete control of the trade. That's the kind of scenario where if I'm not live streaming and I'm in the zone, I don't miss that second entry. But that's the way she goes. So hourly bounce underway. Anything under 124.78 is an hourly lower high. We're scouting a daily higher low. So it was a gap down into hourly oversold conditions, scouting a daily higher low. And bulls want to see a big enough hourly bounce to create the space for an hourly trend change to try and take shape. So I'm out half of NIO at this point, and my break even is well under the low of the day. And now QQQ is pulling back a bit more notably. So I'm just watching to see, can growth bulls hold their gains? QQQ's fading back fairly quickly. So we're watching the Qs on the 1 minute or the 2 minute as the bulls try and shape up a 2 minute trend change. We have to hold the low of the day and break the high of the day to confirm a 2 minute trend change there. XLF trying to get back to the high of the day. Need to see a new high if we're going to call an hourly higher low likely set. Geo, appreciate your ticker patience. All bulls to start the morning. Daily has been in a breakout with a higher low every day the last 5 days. We're testing the high of yesterday, 868. It's a double top at the moment. After 868, we're looking up towards $9 psychological resistance. And we're watching for a weekly equilibrium. Anything under $11 would be a weekly lower high. We've got very wide ranges on the weekly over the last few months. So bulls have complete short-term control, testing short-term resistance, but bigger picture watching for a weekly lower high compared to 11. QQQ attempting this 2 minute higher low. Really want to see that new high of the day to confirm the 2 minute trend change for some bounce follow through. EURCAD. NIO, new high of the day, good sign before QQQ got there, but only by 5 pennies, so got to be cautious because we know NIO loves to break resistance into pullbacks if we don't get follow through. So EURCAD looks like a daily lower high is shaping up. Anything under 149.2 is a daily lower high. Do we still have a 4-hour uptrend? I would say we're just taking out the 4-hour support level. And if we're going to see convincing pullback, we will need a 4-hour confirmed downtrend eventually. But watching for that daily lower high to shape up. And then there's a good enough amount of space that we will watch for a daily higher low, anything above 1466. Honestly, between growth and QQQ, there's just not enough information to determine a bullish or bearish. It's a closer correlation as far as 1-for-1 than it's been in a while. It keeps going a little bit stronger, a little bit weaker. VIAC. New high of the day. That's Sweetie Pants getting frisky in the background. 3804 breaking. Next support level 3757. Bulls will need to confirm a 5-minute trend change. The new high of the day is great, but we need a 5-minute higher low and higher high for follow through. And as far as the hourly, I would call anything under 3880 as an hourly lower high. So PENN, daily lower high and lower low. The bears continue to have absolute complete control of this ticker as bulls fail to change any daily trend. The burden of proof is on the bulls and they failed. So now we're in an hourly downtrend. Anything under 69.28 is an hourly lower high. And next time we change the hourly trend bullish, anything under 74.10, which is 10% away, is just a daily lower high. So we are in a weekly, daily, and hourly downtrend at this point. NIO, new high of the day. Where's NIO resistance? Should probably start looking at that. Gap filled back to the upside. Anything under 39.01 is just an hourly lower high. So 39.01 is a key resistance level. And again, going back bigger picture, if I want to establish a swing trade, this is using a day trade mindset to establish a swing position if I wanted to, which I'm not. But say I'm looking at this and saying, I want a monthly high or low on NIO. Right now, with the trade I've taken this morning, my break even on this position is right about 36 flat. So I can put my stop loss multiple percent under the low of today and just hope that that is our monthly high or low. Odds are, probability-wise, that I will stop out with zero risk. But if things significantly change for the growth sector over the next 2 weeks and a monthly high or low tries to shape up, I put myself in a no-risk scenario to potentially nail a monthly high or low. So again, probability favors stopping out. But it's giving yourself that opportunity. So using a short-term oversold bounce play to potentially position a swing trade. And again, I am not doing that. This is just an oversold bounce trade for me. But just a different trading style. And again, the last time we were talking about that was NVDA, and bulls would still be in at this point if doing that from the 4-hour oversold gap down on NVDA we traded as a bounce. So biotech sector is part of growth. And again, bouncing. Growth is up at the highs of the day. NIO, CGC, XBI, all up at the highs, as is QQQ. Apple, lead tech bull, all-time high today. Again, we could see that pre-market. The retracement size told us Apple is one of our strongest tech names still. BILL. BILL. Daily inside bar. Wide range yesterday. We're within that range today. Bulls are doing everything they can to hold daily support of 192.82. And we will need an hourly trend change back to the bulls by holding the low of yesterday and breaking make that 202.51 to change an hourly trend to try and set up another daily high or low. But for now, it's just a tightening hourly range within the range of yesterday. WB. All bears to start first thing, looking for a 5-minute oversold bounce. Anything under the high of the day is just a 5-minute lower high. Earnings, I believe, are after hours. We are dumping big time into earnings. Daily RSI oversold, taking out all nearby support levels. The next level is 44.01. So we need a new high of the day if any hourly bounce is going to get going. And then we'll just look for an hourly lower high. But the bears are still in complete short-term control. Checking in on some Chinese names. Baba, V-shape bounce to a new high of the day. So Chinese names are doing what growth is doing. Baidu, V-shape to a new high. So again, remember what I said pre-market as far as what the bulls want for an ideal start to the morning. And it's any bear break, seeing no follow-through, right into a new high of the day. So far so good. Keeping in mind, we do still need to confirm 5-minute trend changes on everybody, including QQQ. So when this bounce tops out, we will need a 5-minute higher low and higher high. Same for NIO, great bounce, but a 5-minute trend change is needed. And we are still watching hourly downtrends on all these growth names. Lots of proving still to be done. So for XBI, same deal, V-shaped bounce, 5-minute trend change will be needed. Hourly lower high, anything under 123.26. 5-minute trend change needed for enough bounce follow through to create the space for an hourly higher low to try and form once we top out. AMC bull break over the high of yesterday, all about, no, we broke 37.16 as well. So daily trend change confirmed. Nice follow through. And the low of today was very quickly an hourly higher low being set. PDD versus Baidu, they're doing the same thing. Although Baidu has not hit a new high of the day after the second 5-minute candle, and PDD has. So it's gotten more follow through. They both still have a lot of a ways to go before hourly lower high resistance. We're just looking for an hourly lower high. Baidu volume is massive. So is PDD. First hour volume very high on both. So I would say PDD just because it got a new high of the day all of the last 5-minute candles, while Baidu has not yet. SOL, USDT, PERP. So we're watching for a potential climax top after a massive breakout. 4-hour is just looking for a higher low. If the pullback is significant enough, it's a 4-hour head and shoulders to be watching for, but it's not significant enough at this point. We have a bit of a double top and a loss of the hourly uptrend, but still very healthy on the 4-hour. If we start dropping down towards the 4-hour EMA 12, we will be watching a 4-hour head and shoulders setup. But for now, there are no red flags. Healthy 4-hour consolidation. So QQQ, right back down towards the low. And we can see NIO is not close to its low. So this is where growth needs to distinguish itself as stronger than QQQ, but it's not immune. If QQQ sees a new low of the day, it's definitely going to hurt growth bounces. So we need to see QQQ hold the low of the day and try and change the 5-minute trend, or at least trade sideways to allow growth bulls to try and hold on to these gains. A new low of the day on QQQ. We're still watching that low of yesterday, which is down at 363.70. Oftentimes I talk about Bitcoin or SPY trading sideways and allowing rotation. So if QQQ can trade within a 5-minute range for the next half hour, holding the low of the day, we'll see if it benefits growth bulls. But right now, QQQ needs to hold that low, or at least not get any follow through on a bear break. The Tesla bounce is way weaker than NIO. XLF and QQQ do appear fairly inverse this morning. Amazon looking like a lead tech bear this morning. So hourly, massive bounce, but now we're looking for an hourly higher low compared to 32.11. And the Amazon bulls have to confirm a 5-minute trend change if we're going to be looking for an hourly higher low to be set. We need a new high of the day for an hourly higher low to try and be shaping up. But QQQ is testing the low of the day. So Amazon very likely for a daily inside bar today. The longer the morning goes by, if we get to 10:30, 11 a.m., and after the wide range in the daily candles from yesterday, if we are still snugly within the middle of those ranges, probabilities of daily inside bars go up fairly significantly once the initial morning surge of volume is out of the way. XLF approaching the high of the day as QQQ is approaching the low. I do still like how NIO is positioned here. It does have a bullish correlation in the sense that if QQQ can see a 5-minute bounce either from the low of the day or right after the low of the day breaks, then NIO is positioned well to make its way back towards the high of the day. MJ's sector is not really keeping a bullish correlation. Very significant. So here's QQQ's fresh low. 5-minute RSI back to oversold after cooling off. 15-minute RSI will be very beat up if that low of yesterday comes into play. 15-minute RSI is in the teens. Low of yesterday is $1 away. XLF did not hit a new high of the day as QQQ hit a new low of the day. So that little bit of a bearish relationship is helping the SPY bears. What's SPY's low of yesterday? 442.87 coming into the picture. But because of QQQ's 15-minute RSI, I still like NIO's positioning. Just a heads up, I've got a midday appointment today, so I'm going to leave for lunch a little bit early and come back a little bit later. Not by a whole lot. So here's a scenario where NIO is trying to make it back to the high of the day on QQQ's little bounce. Definitely a bullish correlation. But I don't have a ton of confidence just because I'm not seeing the entire growth space with a bullish correlation. Well, I guess you could say, you know, the fact that XBI didn't get close to the low of the day when QQQ just saw a new low. PLTR, same thing. So there is bullish correlation in a good number of growth names. PLTR's 5-minute consolidation is healthy. NIO did just fail the high of the day. That stands out to me. If we drop down and break 37.75, it'll be a 2-minute confirmed downtrend. Failed the high of the day by 12 cents. I'm going to exit my full, well, let me think here. NIO 5-minute, EMA 12 still holding. So if 37.75 breaks and does not see follow through, that's just fine. But if we start seeing follow through, I am going to look to exit the entire bounce. And reason being, we just saw a 3% bounce. It's playing counter trend. And it's a solid day and a half plus maker. QQQ still weak. So stop at this point is for NIO going to go under 37.65. And that needs to be the 5-minute high or low if bulls are going to hold on to these bounce gains. Aggressive XLF bears are watching a 38.30 top fish play, hoping that a 15-minute oversold bounce on QQQ leads to XLF dropping back to the low of the day. Nice recovery on NIO there. That 5-minute EMA 12 is what kept me holding, as well as QQQ 15-minute RSI. So for the Qs, anything under the high of the day is a 5-minute lower high. There goes NIO, 5-minute trend change confirmed, or 5-minute uptrend confirmed. Again, need that follow through. I'm never comfortable when NIO breaks resistance by anything less than 10 cents. But again, obvious bullish correlation to the Qs, which is ideal for the morning bounce. XLV still our lead bull sector. Was yesterday as well, just marching through all-time highs. XLF approaching the low of the day. So again, that's just using QQQ's RSI levels to scout a potential trade game plan on XLF. Without knowing QQQ's 15-minute RSI, I wouldn't be confident in a high of the day top fish. So NIO broke resistance with zero follow through. Pretty much a double top. 2 pennies is not enough. 37.67 key support on NIO. If we break that level after a double top, definitely a red flag. So I will be all out if that level breaks. QQQ trying to set up a 1 minute trend change. It's a 1 minute inverse head and shoulders pattern right now. But the Qs are definitely struggling for bounce follow through. Have to see a break of 365.47 for this most recent bounce to get any follow through. XLF, another high of the day test. Approaching. It's been very, very tight the first half hour of trading. mRNA, high of the day test. Bulls keeping momentum there. NIO's having some red flags here. That double top was a clear momentum shifter. If 37.60 breaks, I will be out NIO bounce. And again, that's just giving a little bit more wiggle room, knowing how these bulls and bears love to break levels straight into reversals. So all out NIO. Normally I would have exited faster on the double top, but with the 4-hour RSI so beat up, wanted to give a little bit of wiggle room for the bulls to try and get some follow through. And at this point, NIO is now looking for a 15-minute higher low. It's not game over on the bounce, but bulls definitely lost short-term momentum. QQQ is failing to change any trends, the 1 minute, 2 minute, or anything. So still down at the lows there. If I wanted to be aggressive on NIO, I would fairly quickly hop back in if QQQ holds the low of the day here. But knowing I'm leaving midday, I'm not going to be aggressive. It's a solid enough trade to start the day. QQQ bulls have to hold the low of the day and break 365.47 to see any kind of bounce follow through. mRNA failed the high of the day test just now, so a clear little double top of resistance to keep an eye on. If QQQ kept dropping down to the low of yesterday, because of the 15-minute RSI, it would be worth a bottom fishing attempt. And obviously, if it broke, it would be very notable to us. So XLF bulls did get follow through. We bounced around, held the low of the day, the high of the day, rejections a bunch of times. And with QQQ unable to get any bounce follow through, XLF bulls are getting follow through. Hourly higher low is now set, 38.15. And it's all about 38.52. If that level breaks, hourly trend change confirmed, daily higher low set. Tesla right back to the low of the day. So short-lived bounces in growth names for now. XBI is still holding fairly well. Trying to build that base for a 5-minute higher low. ARKK gave the entire bounce back. PLTR gave a lot back. So QQQ held the low of the day, 5-minute oversold bounce, getting some follow through. Anything under the high of the day, still just a 5-minute lower high. Biotech sector trying to test the high of the day. Stayed positioned fairly well. Watching to see if XLF consolidates on this QQQ bounce or if it can stay strong. XLV, slow and steady bull, second day in a row, just keeps grinding higher. mRNA now breaking the high of the day. So bulls keeping their control. AMC holding fairly close to the high of the day. So for the rest of the morning, I'm just watching can QQQ hold the low of yesterday and form an hourly equilibrium. And can XLF set a daily higher low as the XLF consolidation at this point is still very healthy. mRNA is looking to 400 psychological resistance, and then we got that double top in the 406s, I believe it was. Yeah, 406s is the real test. And I would assume bears are going to be waiting there. So if we're heading to that resistance real overextended, the 15-minute RSI would be in the mid-80s if we were to test that with no 15-minute consolidation from here. CGC trying to set up a 5-minute trend change. Need a new high of the day there. QQQ 15-minute RSI did cool off a bit on that last candle. So we've got a battle going on for the low of yesterday. Growth is trying here. XPI and CGC testing the high of the day, which would be 5-minute trend changes. We would still zoom out from there and look for hourly lower highs. NIO is trying for a 15-minute higher low. CGC resistance after 1748 is going to be an hourly lower high at 1783. XBI after the high of the day, 122.22. We're looking at hourly resistance, 123.26. But QQQ is not helping those bulls that are trying to break their high of the day. XLF rejecting from high of yesterday resistance by a couple pennies. So staying range bound for now, trying to set up the hourly trend change. An aggressive NIO bull is going to look for a 2-minute higher low and use 37.41 as a stop level and hope that that is a 15-minute higher low shaping up. We know we need a 2-minute trend change back to the bulls for a 15-minute higher low. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here. It's all about QQQ trying to hold the low of yesterday, trying to set up an hourly higher low there, and XLF trying to confirm an hourly trend change, 38.52 resistance. And I always had a very significant recovery from the low of consolidation. So some growth names are definitely standing out stronger than QQQ, and we'll see if they can keep that up all day. And again, if QQQ holds that low of yesterday and starts an hourly bounce, those names are positioned well to benefit from it. I'll be back in the chat room in 15 minutes. Have a good rest of your morning.